They left the royal family but expected to be treated like royalty anyway. They arrived late, they wanted front row seats, and left to the sound of booze. But what if it wasn't just drama and it was narcissism in action? In this video, I'm breaking down how Harry and Meghan's Platinum Jubilee appearance exposed textbook narcissistic behavior, from grand entrances to entitlement spirals to image damage control. And you won't believe how the sugar has spun this event. My jaw dropped to the floor. But before we begin, here's the intro. Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. You guys, it's Friday. I really shouldn't sing. I'm not that good of a singer, but in fact, my mom says when I sing, the crows come. So I hope no crows showed up at your house as you're listening to this. But anyway, so it's Friday and I wanted to do something really fun. 2 Fridays ago, I did a video where I picked some of my favorite video clips of Harry and Meghan and I talked through it, and you all loved it. My goal for this video was to do the same. And then it was like, one thing led to another, and I had a ton of clips from the Platinum Jubilee in June of 2022. So I figured, you know what? We'll make it a fun one because there will be a bunch of clips, but I'll tell you a story about what happened. I'll put it all into perspective and relate it back to narcissism. Before we get into the chaos of this Jubilee moment, I want to take a minute to put this event into context because understanding the significance of the Platinum Jubilee makes their behavior stand out even more. In 2022, Queen Elizabeth II became the first British monarch in history to celebrate 70 years on the throne. This wasn't just another royal gathering, it was deeply symbolic, once in a lifetime milestone, a celebration of legacy, of public service, and of quiet, consistent duty. At the service of Thanksgiving at St. Paul's Cathedral, the very event that we're going to be talking about today, the Queen wasn't even able to attend. Her health was declining, and the event stood in as a tribute in her absence. It was, in many ways, one of the final national acknowledgments of her reign while she was still alive. And here's what else was happening at the time. The Oprah interview aired a couple of weeks before Prince Philip passed away. So it's an incredibly insensitive thing that these two had done a little over a year before the Platinum Jubilee celebration. The Netflix docuseries was also about to air in 6 months after this event. Whether or not production was completed, I don't know, but this is important because I'm going to show you a couple of very suspicious videos and I'm going to ask you a question about it. And also at this time, allegedly, the Queen met Harry and Meghan's daughter for the first time in private. And there's a whole lot of backstory to that. And finally, let's not forget the widespread rumors that Harry and Meghan may have been wearing microphones. I'm going to show you some video clips and I'm going to let you arrive at your own conclusion. However, if it's true that they were wearing microphones, the idea that a former royal could attend such a sacred event, possibly recording content for future media projects, is disgusting. To summarize Harry and Meghan's actions, they arrived late to the service, they demanded better seats allegedly, and they left to booze from the public. This whole thing is just so revealing. They were no longer working royals. They had criticized the monarchy, walking away from its responsibilities, and yet they still expected to be treated like VIPs at a tribute to the very woman whose legacy they'd been chipping away at. This isn't just drama, it's about entitlement, image control, and the narcissistic belief that consequences are for everybody else. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start with a couple of articles. The first one, and actually, while I go through these articles, I'll show you the video clips that correspond to whatever is said in the article. This article is from The Mirror. It was published in July of 2022. It's titled Awkward Moment When Meghan Tried to Get Better Jubilee Seats, but the Queen Said No, claims author. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle attended a service of Thanksgiving at St. Paul's Cathedral during the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations, but according to Tom Bauer, the couple weren't allowed to sit where they wanted on orders from the Queen. The article begins and says they arrived at the venue alongside other non working royals, Princess Beatrice, Princess Eugenie, and their husbands. However, they then proceeded to walk solo hand in hand down the long nave of the cathedral to take their seats. They were sat next to Eugenie and her husband, Jack Brooksbank, with a couple along with Beatrice and Eduardo Mapelli Mosey, having to awkwardly stand up to let the Sussexes pass to reach their seats. Okay, everyone, so let's look at the entrance that they make and be ready. Be ready to laugh. And I don't know, you might also feel nauseous. The thing I don't understand is that the article said that Harry and Meghan arrived with Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, and maybe actually the gentleman here might be one of their husbands. Apologies that I don't remember which one. But yeah, let's watch this moment. So their car pulls up, and aw, Harry's so sweet, checking on Meghan like that. What do you think he's fixing, guys? That is a moment I'll let you think about and analyze. Well, I already have quite an opinion about what that is. And this next clip now is when they've arrived at the door. Oh, what's Megan's fixing her collar? Didn't they just fix her collar as they exited the vehicle? But, sometimes things just don't stay in place. So here they are walking in proud as can be. They arrived after the other royals, meaning the rest of the family, other than the Prince and Princess of Wales, William and Catherine, and that's their current title, and also King Charles and Queen Camilla. Of course, at the time, he was Prince Charles. So they missed walking in with the rest of their family. This is a big deal because it's a power play. Narcissists often show up late on purpose because it forces people to notice them and look at all these people looking at them. It's about timing the spotlight. They're basically thinking to themselves, if I can't be the main event, I'll hijack the moment. For Meghan and Harry, the late arrival created a solo moment, a way to reclaim their narrative without being part of the machine they claim to resent. To be honest, this is such a walk of shame. I don't know how you can go on Oprah and say the things that you said and also know in the back of your head the content of the Netflix documentary and what you're going to say and just show your face in front of all these people. I simply don't understand it. Now, the Sussex Squad is so delusional because they have spun this um, into something that it's not. So, this solo walk, them arriving late, it had nothing to do with them being narcissistic and wanting all the attention to themselves. Let's watch a clip of how the Sussex Squad interpreted all of this. The video, here at the top, it says, at her Platinum Jubilee, the Queen of England insisted that Harry and Meghan have their own procession. I just can't. They were the only two royals who had their own procession, almost as a gift and tribute. I actually sped the video up 2 times. It says the Queen of England gave her blessing for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex to make the most marvelous entrance as the king and queen of our hearts. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. I'm going to replay that and give you a little bit more commentary. So, what I think we're witnessing here is delusional projection, and it's often seen in narcissist fan cultures. So, what the sugars are seeing is someone that they idolized clearly being sidelined, and they don't want to accept the fact. So, they reframe the rejection as special treatment. So instead of they arrived late and didn't get to walk with the royals, they say they had their own private procession. It's a gift and a tribute. This is textbook fantasy defense, and it's a psychological coping mechanism where a person protects their identity or attachment figure by turning loss into legacy and humiliation into homage. And literally that's what's happening. And I think maybe I should look into this a little bit more because how can you be given so much evidence of someone's behavior and character and not see it? Like, I seriously don't get it. If we were to put this in a different way, when a narcissist loses access, their fans don't mourn, they mythologize. And suddenly being benched becomes being blessed. Let's continue with this article. Their seats were not close to Prince Charles and Camilla or Prince William and his wife, Catherine. But according to Tom Bauer, the author of the new book Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors, the Sussexes were not happy about their allocated seats in St. Paul's and tried to sit closer to the more senior members of the family. So here they are standing after they made their procession or whatever the sugars are saying, and they're asking for better seats. They want to sit in the aisle, but they are actually seated in the fifth and sixth seat or chair from the right. Let's watch the video footage of this. So what you see is Harry almost like he looks very angry, asking them to move. Here's a top view. I know it's not very clear, but you can see all of these people move out of the way so that Harry and Meghan go inside. Like, look how much of a Tetris move that is in order to ensure that Harry and Meghan are not seated in the aisle. And also the sheer selfishness of this that everyone is sitting at St. Paul's, but these two arrive late and look at how much inconvenience they cause. I want you also to look at what happens in this next moment. Oh, what's going on, Megan? She's been fixing that collar quite a few times. The article continues speaking on an upcoming episode of the Mirror's Pod Save the Queen podcast. Mr. Bauer claimed, I was told, unfortunately, too late for the book. They were meant to turn up at Wellington Barracks to get on the coach, which was set up for the minor royals to go to St. Paul's for the Jubilee service. They arrived deliberately late so the bus had gone and they could make a grand entrance from a car so they could be seen on the steps, which Netflix obviously needed. So you can see here that it wouldn't be off base to think that they would be recording things perhaps to use for Netflix. I mean, I don't know the legality behind all of that. And maybe it wouldn't be that they would broadcast whatever it is, but perhaps for their own memory so they can recall what happened. But in either case, they they purposely arrived late so that they would take a car and they would have that walking what did the Sussex squad call it? The royal procession. These two are too much. Going back to this demand for where they're seated, let's be clear, they're not working royals. They're the ones that chose to leave. So, why do they expect top tier placement? It's because narcissists often cling to status symbols even after they've abandoned the substance behind them. I did a video about this yesterday, and I'll link that in the description of this video so that you can see what I was talking. The video yesterday was about how Meghan is allegedly trying to have a private meeting with King Charles so that she can continue with her title, her and Harry could continue with their royal titles. And this is basically hand in hand with that concept. They basically walked away from the table and then got mad that they couldn't still choose their seats. It's classic narcissistic entitlement. They want the perks, but not the purpose. I know that so many of us want justice for what's happened. We want people to stand up to them. And this next part of this article, it's it's gonna be extremely satisfying to you because it seems like they get what they deserve. So, the article continues and says, "And then as they walk down the aisle, they get to the seats in the row they are assigned, and I'm told they then ask 6 other people sitting this side of the aisle if they could move down so they could sit on the aisle itself. And the usher apparently said to them, 'You can't. You're sitting in seats 8 or 9 or whatever it was.' And Harry said, 'Why?' And the usher said, 'That's what your grandmother ordered.' I'm told that from a military man." Just wow. I feel like this is an incredibly satisfying moment. Let me know in the comments if you agree with that. The article continues. After the service, the Sussexes skipped a lunch at the Guildhall, and they also did not attend the star studded party at the palace on the Saturday night, nor the Jubilee pageant on the Sunday. So, in my opinion, I think they were incredibly wounded by this whole experience that they just didn't go to any of these other events. We're going to talk about their exit a little bit, and that was incredibly wounding for them too. So let's get into that now. This is now the moment that they're walking out of St. Paul's, and Harry adjusts himself too. So there's a lot of fidgeting that happens with these two. And as they're exiting, they come across Princess Catherine. And I mean, if I were Megan, I'd be staring at her too. Like, I get the look because Catherine is just glowing as always. Here's video footage of them exiting St. Paul's Cathedral looking so entirely pleased with themselves. I don't get it. I mean, maybe Megan is usually not a very good actress, but she seems to be really doing well here. Um, I think both of them have been shunned by this point, so they're probably concealing quite a bit of anger, in my opinion. This next moment, they're walking up to Zara, and this may not be a big deal, but to me, it seems like Zara doesn't even acknowledge Megan. Her body is completely turned towards Harry, and when she turns around, she almost like doesn't even make eye contact with Megan. So here they're having conversation, and it seems like Zara's only facing Harry if you look at how her shoulders are turning. Here's that same moment from a different angle. You see that she really is facing Harry. And even when she turns almost towards Megan, her head is still facing Harry. Before we get into the very last clip, I wanted to show you a snippet from this article from the Daily Mail. The title is, "Was this the moment Prince Harry and Meghan Markle realized the British public had turned against them?" And the article says, "When Harry and Meghan walked down the steps at St. Paul's Cathedral, they were met by the unmistakable sound of the crowd outside booing them. In fairness, there were some cheers as well, but their appearance caused a noticeable stir within the crowd, as the audio from the two live video feeds at the service picked it up." The crowd's reaction was a significant moment for the couple as it was their first joint official royal engagement since they quit the royal family, and the first time the public had greeted them. It proved that their behavior had left the public with a profound dislike of them. And although they would have known it had they seen their plummeting approval ratings in opinion polls, it was the first time they had to face up to the new reality. It must have been especially difficult for Harry, who is used to being the very essence of a popular 21st century prince. How far these two have fallen. Now let's watch that video clip, and I want you to pay attention, see if you can hear boos and applause. I hear mostly boos, and then I feel like there was someone that was near the recording device that did greet them in a positive way, but here we go. Let's watch that. So, yeah, I definitely heard it. I definitely heard the booing. And to me, this is narcissistic collapse and image injury. For most people, that would be humbling. You would realize, like, oh, maybe I need to change maybe you would be self reflective, right? Like, what am I doing that the crowd is booing me? How did I get here? Right. But for a narcissist, this is identity threatening. Narcissists need constant validation. Public disapproval feels like an attack, not on what they did, but who they believe they are. And that's where you get the tension, this performative composure, the strained smiles. Narcissists don't respond to criticism, they rewrite the narrative. And I think probably this entire event was so much blew their idea of who they thought they were that they just didn't go to any of the other events that were planned for the Platinum Jubilee. And I think if we could put this just in a couple of sentences, the Platinum Jubilee wasn't just about honor or tradition, it became a mirror. And what it reflected back at Harry and Meghan was something they didn't expect: consequences, boundaries, and public disapproval they couldn't control. So I'm wondering what you all think about this. Please drop that in the comments. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you'll know every time I drop a new video. I want to thank you all so much for listening, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye, everybody.